Pied ball pythons has been one of the most iconic projects and one of the most projects that has caught the general public's attention and definitely my attention when I started out. So when I started out with ball pythons, I had actually a pair of ball pythons in my early ages. And then later on, when I saw the first pied ball python, that is when really my fascination with the ball python breeding started. And I think till the very day, if you ask the general public which animal intrigues them or pulls the most attention, they would say a pied. Because I think we're used to seeing albinos, we sometimes used to seeing pure white snakes, but we've never seen a snake which has got pattern distribution or pattern coloration and has got a white body. So with the pieds, they still are some of the most, or my favorite gene in the ball pythons, and I think going forward, they still have huge potential. Over the last couple of years, the pied trends has slowed down. A lot of breeders are not working as much with pieds anymore, but I think going forward, there's still a lot of potential. So the question is, are there still a place for pieds in your projects? So over the last couple of years, the hype around the pied project has slowed down. Not a lot of breeders are still working with pieds. In our case, we still love pieds and we've got plenty of pieds in our collection. But what is the reasoning or the possible reasoning for pieds slowing down in terms of popularity? In our opinion I think it is because some of the genes interacting with pied are very dominant. So for instance, if you take like special or spot nose or even spider in the pied gene, it completely wipes out the patterning and you actually end up with an animal which has just got the head stamp. So I think going forward with the pied project, there's still plenty of combos that we haven't seen in the pied gene itself. And I think to explore the different codominant genes and also recessive genes yet again to see which is the best interaction with the pieds. So for instance, orange dream, enchi, yellow belly, all of these genes are great genes in the pied project and are some of the most iconic pied projects that have been produced over the last couple of years. But lately we haven't seen really new pied combos being produced. Is that because pieds are sometimes too high white? And in my opinion, yes, I think the more the high white the pied is, the less of the coloration we can actually see of the animal. Take for instance this beautiful female we've got here. She's actually a pied double-head exantic desert ghost, but unfortunately she doesn't have much patterning. And in my opinion, the perfect pied is a 50-50, so 50% between the pattern and the white distribution. So going forward, I think being particular with your pied pairings, adding genes that's going to bring out more pattern and more coloration is going to be very important. So now let's look at some combinations and genes which I think would work incredibly well in the pieds and has shown that it actually works incredibly well. So this is an OD yellow belly enchi leopard pied, and she's actually 100% head for clown as well. So I think enchi is a great gene to have in pieds just because you know that the animal is going to be at least somewhat 50% white. Most of the enchi pied combos that I've seen and that we've hatched out has been 50% or more pattern. So the amount of white is sustainably or a lot more less. So with this going forward, I think with the pieds, trying to bring back the pattern is going to be a huge role. So with this female, like I said, she's an OD yellow belly enchi leopard pied and she's 100% head for clown. I think with this project, if we go into desert ghost, hypo desert ghost, and even ultramore, that's huge potential that we can do with it. And even adding some darker combinations, for instance, blackhead pieds are also very stunning. While I was actually at Bob Vu visiting his facility, he had some beautiful OD yellow belly blackhead pieds. So I think there's huge potential still going forward, especially with enchi and pieds. And let's go look at some other pied projects now. Going on to the next project. So here's an enchi hypo pied head clown. And yet again, as you guys can see, this actually is a bit more higher white again, but still the enchi brings out a lot of patterning in the animal itself. So going forward, I think hypo, like I said in plenty of videos, I think has got huge potential. And our hypo pied projects, I think, will be stunning going forward. I think if we get Orange Dream Enchi yet again into this project, it will just intensify the coloration and bring out a lot of the soft orange coloration that the Hypos already got. Another interesting project I think it will be nice with the Hypo pies in general is actually going the darker route. For instance, a super mahogany Hypo pied or a super mahogany black pastel Hypo pied even will be pitch black with hopefully some purple coloration, or hopefully some purple coloration with the Hypo. So I think with the pieds, this is still a lot to be done. I think you just need to be very particular with the pairings you make and make sure that you try and, as far as possible, bring back more patterning than rather to remove the patterning, like with some of the genes, like Special and Spider and Spotnose, like we mentioned, sometimes do in the pied combos. Then here we've got one of my all-time favorite combinations, two of my favorite genes into one animal. This is actually a yellow belly clown pied. And clown pieds, like I said, is one of my favorite combinations, something that I've always wanted to produce and have in the collection. And we were actually lucky enough to hatch out in 2020 our first Orange Dream Clown Pied female, which we still have in the collection. But with this female, as you guys can see, is yellow belly actually does wonders in the Clown Pied project. With this female, she's actually a very low white and a really good expression, because you can still see a lot of the pattern in the Clown Pied itself, and she still has got an incredible head stamp. So going forward with the Clown Pieds, yet again, we have seen that the super ODs and yellow bellied sometimes tend to, when interacting with each other, to make the combos a bit more higher white. But I think if you breed more with the lower white patterns, it will be a lot more beneficial. I mean, going forward, imagine this animal into Ultramore, Desert Ghost, and many others. I think it will be extremely awesome. But with this saying, let's go check out what Fire and Orange Dream does in this combo, and you guys will actually see that those two genes with yellow belly in Clown Pied makes the animal a lot more high white. So guys, here we've got an OD Fire yellow belly Clown Pied, and as you guys can see, is the Fire and the yellow belly and the Orange Dream interaction in the Clown Pieds tend to make the animals a lot more higher white. So Fire Clown Pieds, yellow belly Clown Pieds, and OD Clown Pieds tend to be, they can actually be high white, low white, or medium white. But what I've seen is, especially when you add Orange Dream, Fire, and yellow belly into one animal, it tends to make the animals more high white. Not just in the Clown Pied project, but in general, OD yellow belly Fire Pieds, in my opinion, tends to be a lot more higher white compared to the rest. So with this female going forward, I really think blackhead Clown Pieds. I know Justin of Canova recently, or not recently, but in the last year, produced a blackhead Clown Pied, and I was really impressed with the combination because it brought back a lot of patterning into the Clown Pied project. So I think actually going forward, it might be interesting to see something like blackhead or even stranger or something completely different into this project, trying to bring back contrast and also patterning, and in the same effect, still having the brightness of the Orange Dream, yellow belly, and Fire. Then of course, guys, going into triple recessive projects, of course, pieds will still have their place. I mean, look how stunning this Hypo Clown Pied female is. Even going into shed, she still looks incredibly well. With this project, yet again, as you guys can see, is this female is a perfect amount of white to pattern, in my opinion. So with this project, yet again, I'd love to get Orange Dream into it. We already have an Orange Dream Pied, which is double head for Hypo Clown. So we're definitely going to add that in the near future. But definitely, like I said, I would like to see some darker contrast animals into the Pied project. Like I said, blackhead, stranger, all of these different mutations into the Pied project, and really see how it affects the pattern. And of course, in the Clown Pied project, I think it will have huge potential. Another interesting gene, which really works well with pieds, is sugar. Sugar pieds are extremely beautiful, and they've got a great pixelated patterning, which is beautiful in the pied projects, because it breaks up the saddle completely. So with these projects, I think just be very precise on your pairings. Make sure that you don't put too many genes which are high color mutations into the pieds, which will affect the patterning and make it a complete white snake. So I think going forward, if you do pair with enhancing genes, try and, as far as possible, make sure that the interaction with pied is good. But I mean, at the end of the day, sometimes we don't know until we breed with the animals. For instance, we bred out a pastel OD yellow-belly spot nose clown pied last year, and I thought when I made the pairing that it will be a complete white snake, and by our surprise, it actually came out to be a 50% medium white, low white pied. So sometimes it's trial and error, and sometimes you have to breed them to really see the true potential. And then guys, we're going to finish off the video with this animal. Like I said, pied is still, in my opinion, got huge potential. I think we just need to be very particular with the pairings, and yet again make sure not to add too many incomplete dominant genes which will affect the patterning and make it a complete white snake. But I mean, for instance, this is a 3-gene pied combo, so she's an OD yellow belly sugar pied and she's het for clown. But I mean, look how awesome the pixelation and the coloration on this animal is. As you guys can see, is the sugar actually broke up completely the pied saddles and gave it this almost pixelated patterning on the saddles itself. I mean, if we add this into clown pied, definitely DG pied, hypo pied, ultramor pieds, imagine how neon this animal would be in an ultramor pied version. So I think it's just trying to make the right combos, be very specific with your pairings, and at the end of the day is breed what you want to breed. So if you want to try and make the best clown pied project and you believe special is going to be a great complementing gene to the project, try it, and if it works out, it works out, and if it doesn't, you go on and you try and see what else you can add in the near future to bring it out more patterning.